Greetings, owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles. I don't know what the temperatures are like where you are, but it's the first day of summer here, and oh lordy, is it hot. Let us talk about hot singles. We've got Cathar's Crusade is the first card we're talking about here. 2 white and 3. And again, if you don't know how this works, we're only going to talk about rares, mythic rares, and brand new cards to Jumpstart. So the majority of reprints are not being covered here. Only the goodness, only the hot singles. So Cathar's Crusade says, whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. I love that. I love that ability. Just like every time a dude comes out, everybody beefs. And that works so well with a bunch of tiny little donk makers. Like, you're just making your little 1/1 donkers, then you can go ahead and beefcake them up. The more donks that show up to the party, the stronger they all get. Flavor text says, Avacyn's holy warriors kept hope alive in her darkest hours. Now they will carry that hope across Innistrad. And the artwork shows just like a cavalry squad flying the flag of Avacyn. That's what their standard bearer / maybe leader is carrying. There's multiple flags though, so it's probably just a standard bearer. I mean, yeah, pretty straightforward. I mean, they, in a way, it's like, how are all these guys getting beefier? How are they getting +1/+1 counters on them? In one way, it just seems like the idea is just adding more and more troops, but that doesn't work with every creature. Either way, the flavor of this card is pretty good. They're heading out on like an evening mission or whatever's going on here, like swords held high, let's do this. Pretty solid card. This is definitely a cube-worthy card. And it looks like we're going to be talking about multiple white enchantments today, because the next card is Celestial Mantle. This card's really funky. 3 white and 3 for an enchant creature that says, enchanted creature gets +3/+3. Whenever enchanted creature deals combat damage to a player, double its controller's life total. Ooh, doesn't that feel good? I mean, yes, it is 6 mana. That's a lot of mana. But you get to beef up the creature, and whenever the creature hits your opponent, then, or anybody, apparently, in the most weird sense, somebody could redirect the combat damage dealt to them, to you instead, and you would still do the doubling life because it's done to a player. Normally, cards will say an opponent if it's going to cover anybody else, right? So that is a little bit of a weird word choice, but then this card is older, if I'm not mistaken. This is like original Zendikar block, I think? But either way, dude, that doubling your life is insane. The flavor text says, upon such armor, even a mountain would break. I mean, the armor is like, it looks like crystalline diamond, but it's celestial. So is it made out of star stuff? Like, is this just pure enchantment armor? Is this like somewhat forged out of a meteor or parts of the heavens? There's some cool flavor to this. This chick looks absolutely unstoppable. Very cool artwork. After that, we've got another white enchantment. Surprise, surprise. Cradle of Vitality. 1 white and 3. Whenever you gain life, you may pay 1 white and 1. If you do, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature for each 1 life you gained. So this works almost like a gigantic, like crazy time, a Johnny's Pride Mate ability, but for all your creatures, like you get to pick and choose once per each instance of you gaining life. And dude, imagine combining this with Celestial Mantle. If you were at 15 and hit your opponent, you would go to 30. So that would be 15 life gain. You could pay a white and a colorless and add +15, or add 15 +1/+1 counters to one of your creatures. That's amazing. The flavor text says, Naya's trees grow tall and sturdy. Their foliage intertwines to form dew cups, rainwater pools where the elves gather to celebrate life. So this card is like where the elves have their keg parties. They get all drunk on the Mountain Dew and they party. The artwork is pretty straightforward. You've got this like pool of life, but I call it a pool of life because it feels like every inch, like every little bit of ground that surrounds the water all the way outwards is covered in lush forest growth, right? Like this really does feel like a very vital and life-filled area. And it looks like a nice place to chill and relax. I would go to a Mountain Dew keg party with the elves. Calling it right now. I'm down. Let's do it. Cradle my heart. Okay, next up, you didn't think I was going to say heart, did you? Come on, man. All right, Charbreaker Devils. 1 red and 5 for a 4/4 devil. At the beginning of your upkeep, return an instant or sorcery card at random from your graveyard to your hand. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, Charmbreaker Devils gets +4/+0 until end of turn. So, I mean, this is 6 mana for a 4/4, and it just brings 1 random instant or sorcery back from your graveyard. This is not a good card. Let's be real. This is not. Like, I play this in my cube because of the random swinginess that you can get with it, but meh. I don't know. It just, power-wise, even with the boost that it gets, it doesn't have trample. It just feels underwhelming, you know? But from a flavor perspective, as the concept of Charmbreaker Devils, like, they're literally, they like break open magic and draw the magic's essence into them and use it to wreak more havoc. That's pretty cool. And I really enjoy how vivid the coloration of the demons and the object in the demon's claw are compared to the sort of muted tones of the background. So that I can definitely get behind. I mean, it's weird that they're called Charmbreaker Devils, but return an instant or sorcery. It's like, you break charms? How does that equal me getting random spells back? Like, I don't know. The flavor is a little bit wonky. But let's talk about something that dirty blue boys like to use. And that's Kira Great Glass Spinner. I mean, and I understand why they use this guy. He's a beast. 2 blue and 1 for a 2/2 legendary spirit. Creatures you control have, whenever this creature becomes the target of, oh, I guess he's flying as well. Did I just skip over that? Creatures you control have, whenever this creature becomes the target of a spell or ability for the first time each turn, counter that spell or ability. That is a really intense ability. It's built-in counter magic that shields every creature you have on the board. So to be able to take Kira out, you have to have 1 spell to break the shield and something else to actually get in and get at Kira. The flavor text says each spell is an intricate tapestry and Kira is the great unraveler. That is a pretty cool concept overall. This kami who basically spins out like arcane spirit glass that it completely encapsulates you. It doesn't stop your ability to breathe or anything like that. You're able to function normally in it, but it will stop all hostile magics. That's really intense. I really like that. The artwork is off-putting though. Like, Kira looks like a deformed duck that's life ended long ago that is like kind of mummified. Like, it's gross looking, you know? It's like, I'm glad you have that sphere around you so I can't see you as clearly. I love what you do, but you disgust me. Moving on. Let's get away from this dirty blue counter boy stuff. Ew, gross. I'm gonna need to take a shower after this video. Mystic Archaeologist is the next card we're going to talk about. 1 blue and 1 for a 2/1 wizard. He's human as well. Pay 2 blue and 3, draw 2 cards. The delight of discovery drives the pursuit of knowledge. It's a pretty straightforward card, you know? It makes perfect sense. You've got somebody who's interested in studying the arcane. It's got this crazy little device where they're staring at the magic that's like wafting up off of their fingers to get a greater understanding of it. You know, like, the uncovering new information is an enjoyable experience. That's actually part of what makes the spoiler experience so enjoyable. And I mean, as far as blue cards go, this is one I can totally get behind because it's just some card drawing or whatever. It's not being a big old counter meanie to your friends and your enemies. No thanks. So yeah, overall, it's fine. I mean, it's an underwhelming card, let's be real. People didn't care about this when it first got printed, and this printing ain't gonna change that at all. After that, we've got Rattle Chains. 1 blue and 1 for a 2/1 flash flying spirit. When Rattle Chains enter the battlefield, target spirit gains hexproof until end of turn. You may cast spirit spells as though they had flash. So this is actually a really decent card if you're playing a spirit deck. The fact that you can put it out at instant speed, lets you put all your spirits out at instant speed, and that can also be used to save a spirit at instant speed. The flavor behind this has always made me laugh, where I just think of it like, look at the artwork. You've got like a black kind of cloak with blue spectral energy coming out of it. You've got the 2 arms of the individual. This is very much a ghost. The lamps, like, it's got lamps, it looks like, attached to it by chains. You've got chains going out in different directions. It's got like an Ebenezer Scrooge kind of vibe to it. You know what I'm talking about? Like the the Christmas Carol with the different ghosts, like the Mickey Mouse version. I remember had the one ghost that was the Mickey Mouse version. And I had a whole bunch of chains that he was rattling along. And I always picture this card as like it countering, like, or making a spirit hexproof is like you go to do something to the spirit, and then Rattle Chains just appears at an hour and goes, just shakes his chains at you to distract the hell out of you. Like, that's how I look at the vibe of it. So, you know what? Overall, not too bad. You get a lot for 2 mana. Next card we're going to talk about is a big black demon. Harvester of Souls. What a great name. 2 black and 4 for a 5/5 demon with Death Touch. Whenever another non-token creature dies, you may draw a card. Yeah, I mean, that's good times right there. He is judge, jury, and executioner because he killed them all. And that's from Bishop Cowl of Elgod. So this is the world of Innistrad, if I'm not mistaken. It's funny because this demon, maybe it's because of his positioning, the way he's kind of like crouched a little forwards. He doesn't feel like a 5/5. You know what I mean? Like, he does not feel like a gigantic 5/5 beast. If I was just shown this artwork and told to guess the size of the creature, I would peg him at a 2/2 or a 3/3. I mean, he's definitely got a vicious, bristly aspect to him, and he's got a giant, like, it's literally a demon wielding a sword. That's pretty intense. Like, that is him wielding it, right? It looks like he's holding a sword, but his hand is shattered. I don't think he's grown that blade himself. But yeah, I mean, overall, it's got some good demon flavor. The fact that it can take anything down regardless of size, and the fact that you get to draw cards off them. Pretty solid. Let's move on if my body wants to agree with me. I'm slumming it. My body is the equivalent of the slums, which is why it's good to be talking about the Ogre Slumlord. He can lord over me any day. Actually, no, he's a rat man. Forget it. I take it back. Don't start making those weird, like, what do they make? There's like cartoons out there, little pictures people draw, like shipping people. Don't ship me with the Slumlord. 2 black and 3 for a 3/3 Ogre Rogue. Ogre Rogue. Whenever another non-token creature dies, you may create a 1/1 black rat creature token. Rats you control have Death Touch. Well, it ties into the previous card a fair bit in terms of caring about non-token creatures hitting the graveyard, the Death Touch aspect as well. The flavor text says his tenement is filled with the most vile, disgusting vermin. It's infested with rats too. So tenement would be like, if you hadn't figured it out from the Slumlord concept, it's like he has his own apartments. He's a landlord over an apartment building, but he's a slumlord to the point where the people who live where he lords over, the people are so awful that they're lower than rats at least in the estimation of Branko One Ear. What a name! Branko One Ear. And the artwork shows a slumlord. He's got a bunch of rats up on his shoulders, like, I love you, rats. And it looks like he's holding is he holding some money? Or is that like a treat for the rats? Either way, some decent flavor to this one. And if you're a rat deck kind of guy, you're definitely gonna dig this, right? So let us move on to the next card, which is a new green card called Branching Evolution. This is 1 green and 2 for an enchantment that says if 1 or more +1/+1 counters to be put on a creature you control, twice that many +1/+1 counters are put on that creature instead. Oh, so it's half of a doubling season almost. I mean, it is just +1/+1 counters, right? But still. The flavor text says, is it the water? There must be something in the water. Is it the water? The stars? Whatever it is, something incredible is happening here. All right. And you can see, like, there's animals with 2 tails, animals with 2 heads. I mean, did somebody bury some nuclear waste under this park? Is this a park that has secretly been used as like a radioactive waste offshoot area? Because this doesn't feel like evolution. This just feels like mutation. And yes, technically mutation's a part of evolution. I know, you're so clever. I know you're already down there typing. Just so you know, excuse me, to be fair, evolution is mutations. It's just the successful mutations. All right, you know what I meant. You know what I meant, so shut up. All right, moving on. Ball Lightning. 3 red for a 6/1 trample haste. At the beginning of the end step, Sacrifice Ball Lightning. This is obviously part of the Lightning theme pack. Oh, now that I'm talking about those themes, guys, if you want to see a video where I go over the most flavorful lands or all of the lands from JumpStart, let me know. There's some cool like Phyrexian basics and other stuff. So if you'd like to see a video on that, sound off in the comments. If there's enough interest, I will go ahead and make that video on top of the other spoiler videos. So, Ball Lightning, this is from the beginning of Magic, essentially, right? I mean, technically it's from the Dark, but it's from the first few expansions of Magic the Gathering. People loved this card when it came out. Now it's still good, but not nearly as insane as it used to be. The most frightening storms are those not woven by nature's hand. I mean, a Mage-created storm is less random and more directed, and the Ball Lightning is like an entire storm directed into one beast. Although I like the artwork on the original Ball Lightning better than this. I do like the red energy that surrounds the Ball Lightning compared to like the dark, murky nature where the lightning is streaking through in the back. So not too shabby. Let's move on to the next card, which is Dual Caster Mage. 2 red and 1 for a 2/2 human wizard. It has flash. It has to, or it would never work with this ability. When Dual Caster Mage enters the battlefield, copy target instant or sorcery spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. The flavor text says, it has been my experience that disasters like to strike in pairs. So this is like a living fork. Fork was an old school copy spell. This is one attached to a 2/2 body, right? So that's not too shabby at all. You're just paying 1 colorless more to be able to do this instead of a fork. And I like the way that the artwork is representing the copying. In a lot of copy spells, you'll see like fire magic in the form of fireballs or big gouts of fire. The twin like pouring of lava out as sort of the like the focus for like, okay, one of these jars of magma, a second jar equals another copy of the spell. Although admittedly, this does feel like artwork that wasn't intentionally intended for that, because if you look at the 2 streams of lava, they go up, but then they actually go together into one, and then they head up to create that dog made out of fire on the hill. I never noticed that before. I always noticed the 2 jugs of lava, and we're like, oh, right on. That's a great way of showing that it's 2 spells, but unfortunately that's undone by the fact that the 2 spells merge into one further along the line. Cool artwork nonetheless, though. The idea of pouring out this lava and making a fire hound, that's a pretty funky ritual. I can get down with that. The next card we're going to talk about is Itali, the Primal Storm, gigantic elder dinosaur. 2 red and 4 for a 6/6. Whenever he attacks, exile the top player of each, exile the top player, wow, okay then. Exile the top card of each player's library. Everybody's library. Then cast them all for free. You can choose as many as you want and cast them for free. How insane is that? The flavor text says, the storm rages and the earth breaks. I mean, this is literally a dinosaur that brings lightning storms with it. Just harnesses the minds of every planeswalker, draws magic out of them, and is so powerful that it blasts that magic into existence. That's really intense. And look at the mouth. Look at how big. Look at how far his mouth can extend. Like, that's a crazy set of jaws on this beast. And he's got the crazy, like, side webbing, I guess, to keep his mouth from just getting caught in the wind and slapping backwards like an umbrella. This is a beefcake card, man. This is a beefcake card. I wish it was green. Next up, we've got Goblin Chieftain. 2 red and 1 for a 2/2 hasty goblin. Other goblin creatures you control get +1/+1 and have haste. Everything a goblin lord should be. Beef up your goblins, get them into battle quickly. That's perfect. Flavor text says, it's time for the Smash Smash song. Again, that works great with the goblin concept. And I mean, he does look like a chieftain. He's got like better armor than you see on most goblins. He's got like a magical flaming mace. That works. Overall, a very serviceable card we've seen reprinted numerous times. After that, we've got a goblin that hasn't seen as many printings, and that's Goblin Goon. 1 red and 3 for a 6/6. Goblin Goon can't attack unless you control more creatures than the defending player, and it can't block unless you control more creatures than the attacking player. So you can only use it if you have more guys than your opponent. Now, I mean, I'll be real. This is an underwhelming card. You're paying 4 mana for a 6/6 with a significant downside. Yes, if you are playing a bunch of goblins, you're more likely to have more creatures in them. Yes, it is a 6/6 body that's also a goblin. So it's not like I'm completely waving it away. but this card has always felt kind of, I don't know, like by today's standards at least, you're just not getting enough for your mana, right? The artwork's pretty cool though. You can see this goon that looks like, it's a giant goblin that looks like it was experimented on by the Izzet, but it's like breaking free of the, like it's literally got gigantic like bolts in its back that lightning is shearing up out of, and you can see what looks like a smashed laboratory around it, and the fact that it's a goblin mutant makes it seem like this goblin was taken and experimented on, and now he's gotten free and he's just laying waste to where he was imprisoned. I mean, look, he's literally stepping on a gigantic wooden table and just crushing it under his foot. Imagine how strong your legs would have to be to just step up on a table and just absolutely crush it. This is a gigantic muscled goon. Let us move on, my friends. We're going to talk about Lathliss the Dragon Queen. 2 red and 4 for a 6/6 flyer. Whenever another non-token dragon enters the battlefield under your control, create a 5/5 red dragon creature with flying. And pay a red and 1, dragons you control get +1/+0 until end of turn. So this is a dope-ass Dragon Queen Lord card where you get to pump all of your dragons with the fire breathing. You get to essentially double your dragons. Anytime you put out a dragon that's not a token, here have another dragon. Like they're always in mated pairs or something. That's nice. And you can see in the artwork, Lathliss is sitting there on her perch with all of these dragons flying around in the background with the same colorations. Like this is essentially her brood. She's just cranking out dragons the same way that bunnies do. She's got a high rate of reproduction. Not a bad card. Feels great if you're a dragon player. Now let's talk about a Minotaur. A Rageblood Shaymin specifically. 2 red and 1 for a 2/3 with Trample. It's a Minotaur Shaymin. Other Minotaurs you control have +1/+1 in Trample. It's a pretty solid Lord. I mean, it does what it should. It gives a boost to every Minotaur. And instead of something like Haste with the Goblin Lord, where your wiener little goblins are coming in, it gives Trample, which feels far more like a Minotaur ability to just smash your way through, right? The flavor text says, I see a spark of pure rage. Soon that spark will spread from the depths of Kragma. Soon it will engulf the polis. And that's a street oracle. So this is in the world of Theros, because that's clearly from the flavor text where we are. And this is some dire portent of Minotaurs coming boiling up out of the depths of Kragma. The artwork shows a Minotaur Shaymin all kind of darkened in his cave with bones strewn around on the ground. He's got like a spark in his hand, and in his other hand he has one as well that he's like kind of using to raise up this flaming, almost, it looks like a spirit in the middle of it, really. It's pretty funky. I like it. It is pretty cool. There's a lot of cool cards in these spoilers, eh? The next card we're going to talk about is a red enchantment. That's Arkans Unsealing. 1 red and 3 for an enchantment. This one's weird. Whenever you cast a creature spell with power 4, 5, or 6, Arkans Unsealing deals 4 damage to any target. Whenever you cast a creature with power 7 or greater, Arkans Unsealing deals 4 damage to each opponent and each creature in Planeswalker they control. So, I mean, when you put, it cares about beefy creatures. Arkans Unsealing doesn't care at all about tiny creatures. But if you go really big, you get a way bigger effect. I mean, honestly, every time you cast a creature spell with power 4, depending on what it is, being able to slam 4 damage at any target, you can use that to clear a board, but not the same, like, you want to talk about really clearing a board. Just cast some massive creature and have them, oh, look, everybody you have who doesn't have at least 5 toughness is gone. By the way, I smashed a bunch of loyalty off your Planeswalkers and you. The artwork literally shows Arkans Unsealing. If you're wondering what that is that's in front of him, that is a Hedron from Zendikar, the magical Hedrons. And you can see it's actually, it's being shattered as power is just emanating forth from it. Pandora's box is being opened. And the last spoiler we have for this video, there's another spoiler video of all the top cards that'll be coming out at some point soon. But this is the last one for this video. Primeval Bounty. 1 green and 5. I love this enchantment. Whenever you cast a creature spell, you get a 3/3 beast creature token. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you put 3 +1/+1 counters on target creature you control. And whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 3 life. I'm very much looking forward to this card coming to Historic. I love the fact that you get benefits from creature spells, non-creature spells, and lands. So basically, whatever you're doing, you're getting rewarded for it. I love it. And the idea of this being like the bounty, the reward of nature, Gaia's bounty. That's awesome. The primeval is like untouched nature. And you can see in the artwork, that's what it looks like. You have these massive trees. You've got like fruits and flowers growing along in different areas. And you've got a bunch of wildlife that is like just kind of unhurriedly enjoying the environs. You don't have to, they're not being chased by predators or whatever. It's literally just, here's where we are safe as animals. There is a bounty for us to feast upon. I dig it very much. I really do like this. The idea of like, when you cast a creature spell, you're gaining extra beasts that are coming out of the woods to like join them. And oh, it's great. So my friends, let me know what you think in the comments below. Thanks for coming by. If you like what I'm doing, you can support the channel on Patreon, as I am fan funded. That's how I keep this thing rolling. And I will see you all very soon.